practically every one of the top 40 records played on every radio in the United States is a show to cop out. The psychedelic jackets right albums have their own hidden symbols.
A special question. We don't want you to smoke genetically modified plant. We want you to smoke the real thing. We want you to smoke the natural herb. Some call it marijuana, some call it sensibilia, some call it lamb's bread, and some people call it
Edition of the Adam Dunn Show. I am your host, Adam Dunn, and I am back. I'm back in Denver. I just arrived. Literally, bags are over there. Got off the plane, super late, of course. Dealt with some things, came straight here, and I'm here with Kyle at the Key to Life studio. Back at the Key to Life studio, and here with MTI and the new cam. We have three new cameras.
Yeah.
Thanks to Mr. James Bean. We're using one today. We realized that. It's like when you fix a car, right? You put a new, you can't put one tire on your car. You got to go all four, right? So we're in the situation where we've just tried to put one in the car, and we're like, why is it not driving better? You're like, I think you need four. So we're going to upgrade we're going to have to probably upgrade this old system that we've dragged around the world, which is a hunk of shit anyway. So
yeah.
It's finally going to happen. It's going to happen, bro.
Time to go streamline.
Yeah, no, it is. I think in this modern day where computers can actually do stuff, I should probably get one of those. Right. We're going to continue this podcast, right? That seems like a plan. So we have absolutely no guests. This is my guest. My guest is Kyle. He came all the way from down the hall.
Down the hall? Yeah.
So we've made it. It was a How was the trip? How was the trip down the hall?
It was a long trip. It was an arduous trip, but we made it.
Yeah, you did. You did. Plays. Couple. Oh, something.
Say that I didn't.
I just came back from doing a little whirlwind tour of Oregon, checking out some hemp farms, some biomass, checking out labs, checking out all sorts of good stuff out there. Just seeing the evolution of this industry, how it's evolving as far as now the focus obviously is more of this CBD realm when it comes to the big numbers and monies and things like that. Mm-hmm. But I don't separate anything. I think it's all one thing, right? If I can talk about it. To me, when I see production of hemp, the problem is the plant abuse. That's what really fucking pisses me off. It's like I have a hard time with all the the lack of respect for the product. Some points, because it's like I saw 800 pounds of floor sweepings, you know what I mean? That was that was like, wow, 800 pounds of just floor sweepings, and hundreds of thousands of pounds of actual biomass, which is interesting to see because it's like, shit's getting real, guys. Mm-hmm. It's fun to watch. We're talking, tractor trailer trucks backing up to farms and getting loaded up, you know what I mean? And you're like, wow, this
you say, this is an industry. You don't just see it as a plant. This is an entire industry. This is infrastructure from the ground up. This is building harvesting methods. This is building all kinds of things that we've all the other agricultural industries have had that we now are being able to adapt to hemp, and the fact that it's such a diverse plant, the fact that it can do the fact that you can there are different ways you process things of that nature. It's there is really fascinating to see what avenues people take.
Well, the thing is, now what's happening is it's just cool because it's fun to watch people take fucking literally tons and tons of material, and then you're always going to create multiple streams, from that product. And since hemp and cannabis are fucking versatile, it's like people haven't even scratched the surface. It's like, we can turn it into this, and you're like, yeah, but you could do a lot more than that.
Exactly.
What I mean? And this because everybody's still focusing on the flower and still focusing on the gland and focusing on the cannabinoids.
Well, not only that, just CBD, and we're finding cannabinoids every day.
Also, what's funny too is when you start to see the amount of processing that's getting done. There's some of these labs, because when checked out a few super labs and a few other spots that you were like, okay, this is quite interesting.
There's a few million here.
Yeah, went to Oregon, went to Vegas on this last trip. It's been an eye-opening, to say the least, as far as and with the Farm Bill fucking 1 week away, it's it's like everyone's just fucking like, yeah, like waiting.
Yep.
And you know, again, part of me always wants these things to not pass because I feel like anytime you push forward, you're gonna lose something. You know, you gotta always be super careful because it doesn't mean like you can smoke weed. Like I've been so suspicious of legalization because it just means we're getting ass fucked somehow other way. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And it's happening. It's weird because it is happening. I mean, you see with the like, there's so many things that are getting like back when it was just the Patriot Act, for instance. That seemed really crazy. Like, what? We're gonna lose our this that. Now it doesn't even matter. Like it seems like people are over caring about anything. You're like, this is weird. So when it comes to seeing, like, for instance, tractor trailer trucks backing up to greenhouses, illegally picking up product, and the funny part is the scarier place to be with that product right now is California. Because California is the only place that doesn't have didn't really push the hemp thing enough to. So like, you got Oregon, Nevada here, and then you got to run for it through California. Be careful in California with that pot, with that load. You know, you're like, it used to be get down to California. That was the whole back in the day. It was like that's where you want to get it. You know what I mean? And now it's a place to avoid being caught with the hemp.
The non-psychoactive stuff.
Have weed. I mean,
exactly.
Exactly. It was weird. That was one of the funnier of the trip where it was like I was talking to the driver and he was telling me like because I was like, oh, where are you going in Nevada? Like, but I got to go an extra 5 hours because I can't go
to avoid California. Yeah,
because they have their ag. Because they lost a lot of trucks there.
Yeah,
along the way because people were like, oh yeah, don't worry, it's hemp. Here's all the certificate. You know what I mean? But it's crazy because the Oregon hemp compared to Colorado, I'd have to say, was fucking hands down better, just all around. Yes.
Well, I mean, the conditions potential. That was actually going to be my first question to you: is how did Oregon do this year? They had crushed it. It was a nice season.
There's so many people around with serious numbers.
That's awesome. That's great. That's so good.
Like
to
you
hear.
say so, here. Oh yeah, I got like 300,000 pounds. You're like, oh, that's it. It's like 300,000 pounds. So like there's millions of.
How many truckloads is that? Right. That's
the funny thing, because the thing is, it's also like the more you care about it, the bulkier it is, and you can really see it in like macro.
Right.
Because like just like when we always seen it in smaller things. Like if you get like, for instance, a pound of Girl Scout cookies looks nothing like a pound of haze or something.
Exactly.
So like, what the fuck? That's a pound, because it's so dense, and then you get more weight. So now you see where you're like that's only 3/4 of a fucking thing. It's like, really, how deep did you mill it? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And if you mill it enough, you can fit a shitload on.
Right.
But as we all know, it's also like, there you go. You're back to the plant abuse. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like I'd rather mill if I had to, but the last. That's depressing right out of the
right. I'd rather find some way to break it down to a point where you can use like a material separation of some kind, because really what we're trying to get here, it's
surface areas.
It's the three big ones. We want the flower material for the cannabinoids. We want the grains, and we want the fiber. Like that's the three real things we're going for.
Well, the herds too. You have the herds.
And the herd inside the core, absolutely.
Yeah. And that's actually when you do scale, that starts to become really interesting because that's 80% cellulose.
Right.
So that's like kind of like basic building block.
Exactly.
It's like you're like, oh, cellulose. You can use that in so many.
Absolutely.
So many aspects, which is so it's cool to see it getting there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's happening. It's like,
and the fact that we can even do things like, and we can use this. And we can use that. I think that's pretty cool. Like we're
no, it's not even whatever you fucking want. You can do everything. You just have to put your mind to it. It's like as long as it's not made out of glass, like metal, because it's kind of hard to make hemp metal. You know what I mean? Or hemp glass.
Right.
But almost every other thing you could do, organic. Because if you think about it, hey, plastic, no problem. We got that covered. Plastic, fiber. We got all those things covered. And if you start looking at building material, we got that covered. So it starts to pan out, and you're like, okay, well let's get on it. And also, now that it's not cannabis, we don't have to worry about the whole bullshit with like
Right.
picking it up. So I think there's one company here in Colorado that now has a license to pick it all up and actually use it, but it doesn't seem like it would be as nearly as much of a deal. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah. So that was nice to see, and also, I mean, but it's also sad because you realize like, okay, that's really where all the growers are going to end up going anyway, because it's like we're in this weird, it's like doing that. You know, one's down, one's up,
Yep.
and they're crossing over and they're past each other already. So like, the anybody really if you're into it to supply your own little area or whatever, that's fine, and you stick to your guns and kind of keep going. But if you're just looking at it from a bigger picture, it's like, why would you do that? You know, when you have hemp actually being worth more than weed, even as a flower, if you're in the right state. Like there's people selling it for $30 an eighth in the South and Midwest and all these different shops, and people and it's like, it's so weird to me that like that must be just pissing them off, like, because if you grow it well enough, I mean, there was some, I saw flower on one of the farms that was amazing. Like, I mean, the terps were there. I was also catching it at that magic moment where they were stacked up, still fresh enough,
right?
And at that point where they hadn't
juicy, frosty, yeah.
And I was like, wow, and I was like, impressed.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's crazy because I mean, like we've talked about, I think, a few times. You know, like you think back to the days when you're experiencing these terpenes and you're tasting this bud and stuff, and like back in the day, that was like that stuff that I remember this flavor, but I remember it not giving me what I wanted, and now people are paying just as much, if not more, for the stuff that gets you high as the stuff that doesn't. You know. Yeah,
and I mean it's there's I think like Native Roots is going to be doing a shop now. It's a CBD only shop where you can sell CBD flower. Don't even need to get a license for that. You know?
Exactly.
It's like okay, this is getting kind of
right.
This is definitely getting to the point where that's going to push it to make it even more like, because I thought 2 years it was going to be. Well, I thought 5 years ago or 4 years ago, let's say. I was thinking, it's definitely within the next 5 years. Now it seemed to come like even faster than that, and or just like because once you have a shop selling CBD flower all over the place, really at that point it just kind of turns laughable. You know what I mean? It's like right. So the cops are going to run around and test all the flower, and they're
going to have to have a mobile tester to test whether or not your flower has the psychoactive chemical in it or not. Like,
yeah, I mean, and we are, as we know, like we've all tried. The one that the my DX or whatever the thing's called.
Yep.
It's actually okay. Now I dissed it at first because I tested it out and it just said everything was Blue Dream. It was like literally like Blue Dream. It's like this, most probably Blue Dream, and you're like, it can't all be that.
It can't all be Blue Dream.
But I think what happened was because their shit's on the cloud, I'm pretty sure that their profiles became more accurate over time, just because every time people upload it,
right?
Say
no, it's actually this.
It's another node, you know what I mean?
Right.
And so now it's getting more information.
Cool.
And I had recently, because I my friend gave me one a while ago, and I totally poo-pooed it, left it in the bucket. It's like sitting up in the thing, and then so I had it, never used it. Then another friend of mine got one. And I was telling him, dude, don't waste your time, type thing.
Right.
But he, he was determined, and he used it. And then we tested it against, like, known results. And it was, like, 1/10 of a point off. I was, like, so super surprised.
Dang.
I was like, holy shit, this thing actually is. But then it doesn't seem to register CBD very well. Like, that was kind of.
Okay.
So I was kind of, like, I did stuff that I know was pretty high in CBD. And it wasn't really popping off there.
Okay.
So the sensor doesn't seem to be so good for that as it was. But yeah, surprisingly, I think that they're
well with the hemp market coming around. I mean, I'm sure they're going to sell it to people with hemp, and I'm sure again very similar to how the THC side of it was at the beginning. As they get more people uploading it and testing material and things of that nature, they'll get more node points, as it were, and be more accurate. Yeah, no, it's good because it is literally, if you could dial it in where it was, if you use it enough, I guess it's kind of already. It's at least your indicator. Right.
And if it kind of gives you a range that makes some sense.
Right.
I guess that's about as good as you can get. Because even with a really, really high, expensive GC or whatever, you're going to be like just the tweaking of it and the maintenance and there's no baseline for anything, you know what I mean?
Right.
So it's kind of one of those redundant deals anyway, because if you do good, everyone thinks you cheated or they cheated or the thing. And because I used to do always a couple different labs and then take the lowest result.
Okay.
And that would be probably the right.
And then you're right.
That's probably the one that's
the most accurate. So then on the other end, the dispensary, I'm sure, is going to 3 different labs and showing you the highest number that they got.
Yeah, of course. And it was more and it was totally not for. It was not ever for sale. It was only personal testing
just
for
so you
to
knew,
see
just
what
so
the
you
fuck
knew.
is going on. Yeah, of course. If you had a shop, you'd guaranteed take the highest.
Of
one,
course,
right?
yeah.
You would be a fool not to. Right?
So back to the CBD stores and whatnot. So what I've seen out here is what's happening is a trend that a lot of grow stores are closing, obviously, and a lot of them are actually resorting to CBD sales to buffer business. And I kind of feel like that might be a little bit of a transition place where we're going to start seeing that kind of happen.
Yeah, the part that it's. I don't know. I can't really go for it personally though, because I just noticed that there's no consistency in a sense as far as I'm not a consumer, so I'm not out buying CBD from any shops, but I'm sure people do.
Oh, absolutely.
Obviously, because there wouldn't be the fucking 10,000 shops, right? But
exactly.
It's like when I was on the Strip, I just came. I had to go down and get some luggage, right? And I ran down, was on the. In front of the area, a little, on the other side of the Strip, bunch of little shops, and boom, CBD. Walk into the shop, edibles, pre-rolls, sign pre-rolls, sign that says edibles, and doesn't say CBD edibles, it just says edibles, right? So everybody's gearing up, shit's about to pop off, might as well just buy it now.
Right.
Oh no, this is all CBD, but it looks like a head shop. Everything looks like totally like a place where you would buy they're all more like Amsterdam grimier ones because they don't have the regulations,
right?
So they don't have to have the man trap, they don't have to have separation, they don't have to have things labeled
any barriers really.
No, and everything's just everyone's jumping into the game. So there's so many brands, and I wouldn't trust any of them personally, just because again, you just with Mary's Medicinals, we know who grew it, you know what I mean? So and we know it's Colorado based, and we know it's not China. Because I think to myself, when I look at all I see is guys who don't give a fuck bought $1,400 a kilo Chinese CBD, and fucking put a tenth of what you should put in.
Oh my god, yeah. The dosage rates that I've seen people what they're charging for is insane. Well, but hopefully on the flip
I heard of people literally saying they can get 30,000 units, 50,000 units out of a kilo, and you're just so what are you putting? You're putting in
5 milligrams.
Yeah, in a whole thing.
In a whole thing, yeah.
So it's not really effective.
Right.
It shouldn't be effective. Maybe. Because it's a placebo effect, but
correct at that dosage, yeah. I mean, but hopefully, at least in this wave of that demand of people coming in, starting CBD businesses, starting what the hell can I put this stuff in, type of businesses. Hopefully that'll
every gas station I went into, just chock-a-block, the whole countertop was just CBD. You're like, oh my God, it's going to be interesting because the FDA is going to probably be assholes as they usually are. And
yes.
And that's the problem, is that they're in charge once the Farm Bill kicks in.
Correct.
And that's where I'm a little bit I just think it's going to be one of the things where you have to just play the game and word everything differently.
Right. You have to be very, you have to say this about this product. But what I was going to get to is I hope in this small time period where we're doing all this stuff, I really hope that a lot of our farmers who have been getting kicked in the nuts for the last however many years can make some damn money finally, and actually reap the benefits of owning land and not being subsidized and not getting paid for that type of stuff.
Yeah, I think right now what I'm seeing is miracles happen where guys are getting paid good money. Compared to what they would if they grew alfalfa or if they grew whatever crop there, and picking up some big pieces of nice land.
Yeah,
and because the thing about Colorado, it's funny. You land in Colorado and you're like, wow, it's fucking dry here.
I tell people all the time, and people who are from here are in denial. It's a desert here. It really is. I mean, it really is a desert here.
Yeah. So you're like, well, it's pretty damn dry. And then you land, and then you go to Oregon, and it's like, wow, it's pretty lush.
There's ferns growing out of the middle of trees as you're driving down like that. You don't see. You're never gonna see that here. Not ever, ever, ever. You just
So as far as like the the regions that'll reap, I think here is always going to be good for resin count, no matter what, just because of the altitude and and for making hash
and the sheer acreage that we have here of availability.
Yeah, I mean, but usable is a different story.
How much of it's farmable? That's a good question.
It's not like, I mean, there was like, that's what I mean. When I was there, it was interesting because it was like literally like, roll like this, like one of these deals where it was like a row goes this way, a row goes that way, and you can see it kind of go on like it just
like forever. That is my favorite part about driving around Oregon is that it's being utilized, but it's so healthy. It's so like there's not like it's not over farmed. It's not really.
It's not all beetle killed out. Like here,
exactly.
Here you kind of go through. You're like, yeah. It's kind of prehistorically cool, like you can feel how it's kind of dying off. Get to the western slope, it's a little bit. There's some areas. I mean, Colorado's, it's interesting because it's definitely unique, and it's got some, it's still a beautiful place. But when you get to a place like there, it felt like I was in. It's like a kind of the Northwest Hawaii vibe or something. You know what I mean? Like when you land in Hawaii, same deal. Like you touch the ground and you're like. You just get there and you're like,
I'm connected to this.
You're like, this has got some life in it,
Yeah, exactly.
Like here's definitely got more like that. It's cool. That's pretty cool rock you're standing on there.
Exactly, right.
Petrified wood, rock, kind of,
Yeah, the broad landscapes as opposed to just the intricate small things. Like there's and I grew up in the southern Wisconsin area, and it's very similar in the aspect that it's you can go to a small little area and there's just so much diversity in that point, and diversity is health to me. And when you go to, like you say, a place like Oregon, we're just diversity everywhere. And
we're still alive, but we're getting closer to Utah every day.
Exactly.
Like Utah's dead as fuck.
Yeah, I see more and more tumbleweeds on the interstate these days.
Nevada's pretty fucked. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I drove through the largest ammunitions dump at some point when I was driving, and it was like. And you kind of like, you're like, oh, what the fuck are those buildings, right? And we thought, what are they, barracks? I was like, no, there's no windows, right? And you see like, kind of like just forever buildings. And then you see a sign where it says, world's largest ammo dump. And then as we drove for the next like 45 minutes, everywhere for as far as you could see were bunkers. Oh, and they were like these special, it was like, of course, as always.
Yeah.
How much weed do you think you could grow in these fucking bunkers? That was like the obvious question, right? Like, how big do you think they are underneath? I'm trying to get judged. The buildings were like not so big. They were maybe about 30 by 90 or something like that. So they didn't seem very. I don't know, maybe bigger.
There were just a lot of them.
Millions, like thousands. It was
That's
just like
insane.
You could just look as far as you could see. You'd see them, and there were some bigger, some smaller, and they had this cool design where they had like a blast wall.
Okay.
And then that protected. So there was this little like sliver where there was the door that you would go in. It seems like, and then there was some sort of thing so you couldn't maybe shoot into it or I don't know. It was very definitely like Bunkerville,
built for a purpose.
But I was like, damn, that's like And then but that was it. There was then nothing but tumbleweeds until you get to Vegas or whatever. But
yeah,
took some crazy roads because I was driving from Oregon. We drove from Oregon to Vegas, and then. Went by this one town called Goldfield, which was an old, obviously, gold mine town, and it was like, fuck yeah, I wanted to stop, but we were too busy or something. But it was like one of those. It was so funky, and so like, just a bunch of art cars from Burning Man. It looked like they were kind of just abandoned there, and like just the whole vibe of this. Like it was like a couple S curves, maybe.
It felt dead.
Yeah. Well, no, but it was definitely the hot spot at one point, and,
right?
And everything. Yeah, it was like you could tell like. But it had a cool vegan spot in the middle of it.
Oh, that's cool.
That I was like, of course, nobody else in the car was vegan, so they were like, we're not stopping. I was like, look, a vegan spot, dude. Let's go there.
I'd be one of the rare ones in your boat, but yeah.
No, it looked like it was probably the only decent food. It was like a yurt.
For how many miles was that the only vegan spot? You want to take a stab?
Oh, forever, man. Until Vegas, and then that was it. Probably in Vegas, and
Right.
the next
Okay.
one.
Yep.
So, and that was probably about 250 miles north of there or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was fun. It was a little road trip, which was cool. And then
It's good.
Flew back from Vegas, so did the tour
Heck yeah.
and
Survived it.
survived. Yeah, well, it was funny too because in Oregon I just felt so like my whole group that I was with, none of them have beards, right? So they all feel weird. I'm in Oregon, like, hey, and every time I walk into a place, everybody'd have a big old beard and be
Right.
We'd be all on the same page,
Right.
And then we'd go out to eat, and it'd be like none of us would drink. You know what I mean? And then the crew that I'm with, everybody drinks, and they're like, "What?" You know, like, totally different.
That's
Like,
funny. That's funny.
And it was cool. It was good times up there.
That's good. Good.
So, and then next week we got fucking Emerald Cup.
Oh yeah.
Everybody's gonna be there, dude. It's gonna be crazy.
Heck
And I
yeah.
have to drive all the way out for that too. So I'm just like,
You're driving to that one?
I have to. I got all my gear, so I can't bring.
Right.
Can't,
You can't fly with any of that, can you?
No, I mean just gear, like fucking clothing. It's too much. Oh, and this stuff. No, MTI, you can't come, right? You're fucked.
Totally fucked.
You messed up the whole thing.
Oh,
know,
what'd you
I-
do?
You're telling James this right now on the air, so he understands.
Oh
like,
no! What happened?
No.
who else can do it? The kid, he thinks he can do it, but I mean, I have the car, so I could bring it all. It's one of those things, right?
Yeah.
The kid, I can hire the kid, and everyone can yell at him, and the show will be comically
You could do
great.
You could do an odd shot where you've got the kid on the board in the show.
We've had that shot plenty of times. We've had that shot plenty of times. The kid interjected himself into the show. He made sure you knew he was there.
Right.
He was not MTI professional. Where he'd just be like hanging out. I can't even see MTI's face anymore. He's behind. We have lights, dude. We're so much more pro than normal.
You
It's
just see
weird.
some arms moving on a keyboard.
That's all I see is arms. MTI's arms. No expression.
Nope.
No. It's just the head of the big square. Smoked a bit of weed, but not like, it was kind of like we were on a hemp run everywhere we went. And so
Right.
it was kind of weird because it felt like I was a sailor, like on the ocean with no water, So I feel like, and I lost my fucking pen. I had a good pen.
Oh no!
And then I didn't even want to go out and get another one. And then I was just waiting for a magic. Normally I'm with my friends and something's going to happen.
Oh yeah,
right?
yeah.
It's all good. But this time I was just kind of with people who were just taking their my friends, but we were on more of a work tour,
Right.
As far as like,
Yeah.
I want to show you this, I want to introduce you to these guys.
Mm-hmm.
So so it was kind of a weird one because every time we were at a place, we weren't there long enough to
sesh and to
to
chill.
do because right when I'd be like, hey, let me go over here, they start hanging out with everybody. And then it was funny, just like a couple of times it was like, hey, you want, and we gotta go, later, to the next floor, because we had so much distance to travel and different. And we also missed a flight on the way out. That was also classic.
Oh, no.
We didn't miss a flight. Sorry, it was weird too because I had luckily I fucking got up and couldn't find the biggest thing when you're traveling nowadays is finding a plug. That's like the most important thing.
Oh yes.
That's literally like the most important thing you can think of every time you get off the plane. You're like, where the fuck's a plug?
Power source.
I need a fucking plug. That's all I need. Just give me a fucking plug. I got 8 minutes.
Right.
I'm gonna get one more second of juice.
I gotta call my lift in.
Exactly. And so I pretty much was doing that the whole time. On this trip.
Have you ever? So I accidentally did this when I was in LA last time. I got myself stuck without a cord. I went a little bit too far, ordered my lift, and was actually in the wrong area, and my phone was dead. So he was trying to call me, trying to get me my lift, and I totally missed it until I had to go back in and charge my phone for a while. So I was like, totally. I was like, oh yeah, I'm in the right spot. It's gonna be totally fine. And then,
Modern
nope.
inconveniences, of course.
Nope.
No, it was definitely, and there was no phone service anywhere too up there. So that was one of the things that was.
Oh
crazy.
yeah, when
It
you're
was like,
diving through the hills and stuff like that.
we had nothing. We'd go from spot to spot. We had zero. So.
Usually in a giant metal building too.
If you're
not in the middle of a field.
But a lot of the farms we went to didn't have anything. I was like, nothing.
Really? No germination greenhouse? No, nothing like that?
No, I mean as far as fucking phone service.
Oh, phone service.
I was like, they were out in the middle of nowhere, like nothing. I was like, nothing out here. So it was, it was plenty of spots. We had I went to one spot where this guy there, he was the guy was crushing it when I was telling you earlier that stuff was fire. Like he was a greenhouse constructor, and
Oh, okay.
they had a half pipe on the property. They were definitely
Oh, yeah.
a good crew. They were like they had their shit down. I was like, yeah,
Yep.
weed looks great. Or weed. Hemp, I still call it weed. I can't get it out of my head. It looked like weed. I literally mean it was like weed because it was so fucking fire. I was like, dude, you guys nailing it right here.
Right.
Yeah. And it was
at that point, what do you call weed?
And the thing is, actually,
because there's medical cannabis.
MTI, can you check in my pocket of my jacket over there and grab my phone because I forgot it, and I'll send you a photo of. It's in one of my pockets of my jacket there. I took one photo of one of the bales of like tops that was just like, I was like, really? You can get on the camera. It's okay. You're loud. You're loud. Hi, everybody. So, anyway. Carry on while I look for a photo.
No,
Give me.
So I was just gonna interject a little thing here. Obviously, I'm sure everybody has an opinion about this, but there's the people are trying to be so sensitive about the vocabulary of what they call things. Is it hemp? Is it medical cannabis? Do you say that it's THC cannabis, or do you say that it's CBD cannabis? Do you do you call it weed? Do you call it
right now? Okay, so I think I already said this on the show before, but recently. Kyle Cushman, when I was standing in line at the last MJ BizCon, I was hanging out talking to Kyle Cushman, and he was like, "Hey, I just want to tell you, that since you come from the traditional world, basically, it's now that is literally the new name is called traditional, right? For the new for old school. Right?
Got it.
So it's like instead of saying. Hey, dude, I got some black market weed, which is not really putting you in the best fucking frame of light right now.
Right.
You're like, black, what? It's like, so,
right.
And or what are you going to say, off the grid, or, everything fell off the truck, or who knows? There's like,
right.
But apparently, according to Kyle, terminology is traditional.
Traditional. Cannabis tradition.
Yeah, with being like, just weed. There you go. Boom. Want to buy weed? Got it.
Yes, exactly.
It still exists, people. Thank
yes.
God. Thank God. But it's fucking weird because it's like you can see how it's just not worth it to do that when there are so many pounds there. I actually did see a lot of people who were sitting on year-old.
Oh yeah.
Just like whatever you want, whatever you want. $100, whatever.
Just take it, please. Thousands. Of this stuff.
Yeah, so it's kind of sad to say because like you were saying before, it's time for the farmers to come. It's like the opposite. The weed farmers are going to get ass kicked. So it is logical if you are a weed farmer, grow weed, fields of high CBD cannabinoid cannabis or hemp, whatever you want to call it. It'll be the new weed basically,
right?
Because it's fucking like you get to finally. It's nice. It's beautiful. And there was like, and the thing. I was gonna say earlier, Oregon's ass right now.
Oh, absolutely, they are
in both quality and genetics. And guys up there shocked if you even say. And this is where I wanted to get Tate. That's why I wanted Tate on the show.
Button right now.
Tate was here.
Tate was here. Yes, the fire in his eyes that would come out.
But they are literally, shocked that would even try to ever grow non-feminized seeds there in hemp because everybody nailing it. You know what I mean? Well, not everybody, but Crawford's like we said on the show many times, and other groups that I've ran into who are seem like they're dialing it into. I think it's just the environment there so fucking perfect too for it,
right? That
they're able to really
so little stress.
Yeah,
so like you can eat whatever phenotype for if you have the nutrient capability to. You're going to be able to affect it drastically.
Yeah, and here it's like, it's working.
Exactly.
Everything's working.
Exactly. It is a hot topic, and I can understand the thought process behind both sides, but I'm not gonna say too much without Tate here, but it's.
I'm always. I have said I'd rather do regular. But when you start thinking about
true scalability on
being able
tens of thousands of acres.
yeah, exactly, being enough that like
Right.
And the thing is, you can't put start. It's much easier to put a seed in the ground than a start.
Correct.
Just like 1,000 times easier, and more effective. Like for sure.
Especially if you can truly, and again, here's where Oregon has an advantage over everybody. It's tough out here because we're obviously a Colorado company. Like planting a seed in the ground out here is difficult. Guaranteeing germination, guaranteeing success because of the stress levels, because of the dryness, because of all these, the soil and the clay and the high calcium and all these other factors. It's
But newmillenniumnutrients.com for the some of the best nutrients out there, and we get them on the show too soon.
If I can't get out, I'm gonna call in.
It's gonna be on.